It is both a pleasure and an honor for me to be here among this distinguished panel and audience. Let me start by saying that Latin America and the Caribbean is both among one of the world's richest biodiverse regions and also one of the most at risk to the impacts of climate change. We are, however, one of the smallest contributors of greenhouse gas emissions, but we are, I have to say, one of the big proponents of climate action. Many of these actions are related to nature-based solutions. Actually, if you see many of the NDCs that have been published, they have a big proportion of nature-based solutions actions. So, and one of the reasons for that is because nature-based solutions are at the heart of socioeconomic development. If you see one of the recent publications by the World Economic Forum, they indicate that over half of global GDP is moderately to highly dependent on nature. As a matter of fact, by just protecting and restoring irreplaceable ecosystem services, we're also creating jobs, generating income and growth for both the public and private sector. And we are also sophisticating our economies with financial climate markets. So nature-based solutions can deliver essential services such as water and energy while safeguarding built infrastructure, reducing cost over the long term, creating opportunities to generate revenue as well. So I would like to emphasize that when properly valued and included within national accountings, nature-based solutions can bring multiple benefits. For example, saving money, generating attractive returns for investors, increasing resilience and protections of infrastructure and communities, and also enhancing natural capital assets. Now, specifically, nature-based solutions can help fulfill Sustainable Development Goals and NDC's targets. One of the analyses that you can find in the literature indicates that 1/3 of mitigation needed by 2030 can be provided by nature-based solutions. So if you look at it from a different perspective, we can say as well that there are economic benefits, tangible, that you can see for nature-based solutions. For example, nature-based solutions added value is around 28% greater than just regular infrastructure, which in dollar terms translates to around $489 billion a year. We can also look at this in this way. If the world met its current business as usual global infrastructure needs, but instead swept just over 11% of traditional infrastructure with nature-based infrastructure, we could be saving around $248 billion a year. Now, the saddest part of this is that despite all these benefits, nature-based solutions face a significant investment gap. Just to give you an example, global investment gap for biodiversity is expected to be around $824 billion a year for the next 10 years. So to fully realize potential of nature-based solution, the private sector will need to contribute financially. So the good point about this is that fortunately, the pool of green finance and private sector funds earmarked for environmental and climate-related investments is growing. For instance, there is a new coalition of institutional asset managers and investors that are aiming to raise around $10 billion. 25 of the world's largest banks are setting aside commitments for sustainable finance. And if you look, there are new regulatory frameworks and initiatives that are fueling a growing market for environmental sustainable investments. Now, new financing models can leverage these funding sources, unlocking billions of dollars earmarked for green investments. But I have to say here that to succeed, nature-based solutions will need to tackle some challenges, but I would like to mention two in particular: scalability and bankability. Of course, when you look around the world, investors want more large-scale and bankable projects that can generate revenue or provide cost savings. And for that, they will need, first, better performance metrics, basically when and how will nature deliver results. Two, business cases demonstrating financial returns. And the third, lower transaction costs that only large-scale projects can deliver. Now, when you look into on the other side, when we look into nature-based solutions project proponents, such as NGOs or other governments that are working on this, they will need, of course, more capacity and resources to develop such investments-ready projects. And of course, they will need policies that better incorporate nature-based solutions into infrastructure planning. Let me here make reference to two, I'll say, very useful tools or financial mechanisms that are very common nowadays and connected to nature-based solutions. One are green bonds, and the other one is blended finance. Green bonds, for example, are now one of the most popular financing mechanisms for green capital allocations, simply because investors are familiar with these fixed income instruments. Trading platforms are well established, and price discovery and reporting are increasingly transparent. So we can say that this tool is pretty effective for accessing capital for green and gray infrastructure investments. Now, in regards to blended finance, it can catalyze market rate investments in nature-based solutions, and many of the nature-based solutions projects are attempting innovative approaches both in the water security and disaster risk management areas. However, since this is a new instrument, saying it's a new instrument, they face more complexities and also higher risk than traditional infrastructure. So before closing here, I would like to mention that at the IDB Group, we're taking action-oriented steps on climate and nature as the bank's central strategy for a revitalized region. Over the past 5 years, I'll say, IDB has invested over $800 million in about 28 projects with nature-based solutions components, and this has leveraged an additional $436 million in financing from partners to nearly $1.25 billion in total project cost. And just last but not least, the IDB's Natural Capital Lab, as many of you may have heard about, is a bank's program that is working to drive the innovative integration of nature into climate action and projects across the bank, mainstreaming nature in all operations, supporting and incubating innovative nature-positive financial products, and helping our countries advance in a nature-positive agenda, where the conservation and restoration is an asset for national growth.